What's going on YouTube? JT is Reborn here, and welcome back to another edition of my Godzilla comic book reviews. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about the Godzilla Valentine's Day special. This is part of the Godzilla Rivals thing. Now, a Godzilla Valentine's Day special, what could they possibly be talking about? Is this going to be about Mothzilla, Godzilla's relationship with Mothra, or something like that? No, there is no monster romance within this comic book. The cover, as indicated, is a romance about these two women who, I guess, casually fall in love. But even then, like, I mean, this cover, I mean, it happens in there, but it's kind of, like, misleading, if you will. I was expecting, like, the whole comic book to kind of be about this, but it really, like, the relationship romance aspects don't really happen until the very end, if you will. But we'll get into that in a second. So, the storyline is written by Zoe Tunnell, art by Sebastian Perez, colors by Rebecca Nalty, letters and production Johanna Natalie, and edited by David Marriott. So the storyline about this is centered around this woman named Piper, who's kind of working this dead-end job for little amounts of money. So already a pretty relatable aspect, like you're kind of caught in this endless routine just to kind of barely get by and survive and not really have the most exciting of lives. But as this is going on, a monster attack happens, and then we see Godzilla, and my god damn, that boy is looking thick. Like, this is big chungus Godzilla. I mean, look at the size of it, like, just like how big he is. I mean, Godzilla has clearly been packing out the pounds, if you will. I know a lot of people like to complain about Godzilla's size. I mean, he's too skinny, he's too fat, he's too yada yada. Like, this is big chungus Godzilla. I mean, look at the size of him. Like, his arms barely, like, he can't reach down or anything like that. So I mean, it's like just seeing that image right there, I'm like, that is a very large Godzilla. Maybe he's not, but he's been packing out the pounds. He's not in the best of shape, but you know what? He's still Godzilla and he's still awesome. We still love him regardless of like what size he is. So anyway, things go wrong. She gets caught up in the accident and she ends up getting saved. However, the company that she worked for in wake of the Godzilla disaster, they were unable to really recover. And so she loses her job. She's been given a severance thing. And it's kind of an unfortunate situation that a lot of people can kind of relate to, about, you know, working really hard and then you get let go for various reasons. And like I said, there's a bit of sympathy for her character in that regard. So from this point onward, she decides that she's going to become like a Godzilla sighter, if you will. So she's going around the world and letting people know about Godzilla, kind of reporting on the situation, if you will. He gets into a fight with Ingrish. She studies the behavioral patterns of the monsters and all that. So she's very knowledgeable about when these kaiju are going to attack. And like I said, Godzilla right there, like you look at him right in this image, he does not look nearly as thick as he does in that one. It's at this point where she almost gets killed. However, she's saved by this other woman who is obviously on the cover with her. And there's kind of an antagonistic relationship that they sort of have, like Piper, if you will, is still kind of doing her stuff. I mean, she's dealing with the EDF and trying to find out more information on these monsters and kind of still going from place to place and reporting on it. She goes in the areas she's not supposed to go. She gets arrested. It's kind of a back and forth cat and mouse thing that develops over a long period of time. Like almost kind of like a fun sort of rivalry between the two characters, if you will. One goes one where the other one kind of shows up like, what are you doing here? It's like, oh, I'm going back to this thing. So, and the others kind of have to constantly save each other. And then, of course, like I said, we get various monster fights. I mean, a lot of it's kind of like happens off panel. Like, and we get little glimpses of it. Like, you have like a bit of Rodan in there. You have a bit of Godzilla. Hedorah kind of makes a brief cameo, King Ghidorah, if you will. And then the big thing was the EDF's main weapon against Godzilla, which is none other than Mechagodzilla 2, the Heisei variation of the character. So it's always kind of interesting when we get to see like what version of Mechagodzilla they roll with in a lot of these IDW things. Oftentimes, I feel like the ones we mostly see are Kiryu, and this one. So I mean, I don't know. I like the Kiryu design quite a bit, and I like the original. I still like the Mechagodzilla 2 design. It's not necessarily my favorite of the three, or the main three. If you, well, there's Monster vs. Godzilla, but that one's not one of my favorite designs, to be honest. I still like the Heisei design, if you will. But yeah, so we do get some action sprinkled in throughout there, which, like I said, this is a Godzilla comic book. You want to see monsters fighting and doing stuff like that. That, to me, is always the aspect I'm most excited in. But if you can craft an interesting story around it, I think that works too. So, but yeah, like I said, antagonistic. Eventually, like I said, they do kind of fall for one another, and like I said, they kind of cut to a few years later, and then they're kind of just married by the end of it, which does feel a little bit abrupt. I would have not expected them to kind of be married so soon, because like the moment they kind of agree to work together, there's no kiss or anything shared like that. We just kind of cut to 3 years later, so it feels like we kind of skipped over some of that development. Now, they've kind of known each other for several years. I mean, they've ran into each other here and there, here and there, here and there. There wasn't any real outright flirting or anything like that for the most part. I mean, you kind of get more so like their true feelings, like one of them feels towards the other. But like throughout the most of it, it's not really like, that's not really the focus of it so much. So the cover, while it's there, it's not really the whole issue of this thing. So it's mostly about them just kind of running into each other, place to place to place to place to place. And like, I was kind of surprised by that. That was a little, like I said, the cover makes you think the whole aspect of the whole thing of the comic book is going to be focused on the romance. And while it's there, this is a Valentine's Day special. It's not like, it's more, I guess, subtle is the word I'm looking for, because it kind of just happens more so at the very end, which I was kind of surprised by. So, but yeah, like it's there. I think the lead character was, like I said, she had a sympathetic backstory with all that she's going through, felt very relatable. And, you know, there's a little bit of a fun dynamic between the two characters. I think obviously Piper had more of the focus in this issue, so she was the more interesting. The other character kind of just works for the EDF, but I think them being married within like 3 years was the thing that kind of caught me off guard. I would have expected, okay, there's gonna be some sort of relationship, but you forgot to so-and-so, like, kiss your wife, like, in 3 years. I'm like, oh, well, that came a little bit abrupt. So, yeah, I mean, some people like this, others probably won't, I assume. The Godzilla stuff, it's there, and it's not as focused on as much as, like, this relationship. I mean, it's like she's got her job to kind of just cite Godzilla and the various monsters in that, too. But it doesn't, it takes kind of, like, the focus is more on these two characters as opposed to the monster action. And again, it's a Valentine's Day special. Every company kind of does something like this. I mean, DC was just released one yesterday, if you will. And this is kind of the first one I think IDW has done when it comes to like a romance book, that if I'm not mistaken. So I you know, if they really wanted to like swing for the fences, they should have done like a monster romance thing. I mean, maybe you could have thrown the Mutos in there or something like that. It could have been something kind of tongue-in-cheek, kind of funny. But no, it's mostly about these two characters. So I mean, the artwork, like there's some good stuff in there for sure. Godzilla's size is one that just like this image of him, like look at him, look at how huge he is. So I mean, he is big chungus Godzilla right there. So it's not necessarily my favorite of the IDW stuff, but I don't think it's necessarily the weakest as well. I mean, we've had some good stuff and then some less than good stuff as well. But I mean, I think too, because it's only a one-shot, so they have to kind of cram a lot in there as well. And it's tricky to do these one-shots as well, because you don't necessarily have as much real estate space to kind of tell these long-term storylines. Here we get a passage of time, and that's orchestrated visually. I mean, they kind of threw in as much as they could with it. I think maybe with a few issues, like the ending where they're kind of married felt, like I said, that felt a little abrupt for me, because I didn't expect that within the next page. I mean, obviously it was kind of building towards something like that, but up to like before that, like you could have interpreted a different way up to that point, I should say, until like the final page, if you will. So you could have been, it could have gone either way, unless, like I said, obviously this is a Valentine's thing, so they're going to go in that direction. But had you not known that this was a Valentine's Day cover, or if you got just a cover with Godzilla or anything on it, like even towards, like I said, if it wasn't titled this, like, and you just got like the first page onward, I mean, it could have, I mean, a lot of people would have interpreted it going that way, but it could have been interpreted as a different way, I should say. So, because like I said, the ending feels a little bit abrupt. But again, for what they were trying to tell, like, I mean, I don't think they had necessarily the amount of real estate space within the comic book to kind of tell that story, given like where this thing starts. I feel like it would have probably been better to tell over the course of a few issues and then get to that point. But I mean, I guess it really doesn't matter, I suppose. So I mean, this is a one shot. I don't expect it to kind of go anywhere really from here, unless of course like it's a huge hit and they do more issues of it with these characters. Because like I said, with the Godzilla Rivals thing, it's been mostly anthology based, so it's kind of jumped around from place to place to place to place to place, if you will. So it is what it is, I suppose. I still enjoyed reading it for the most part. So yeah, what did you think of the Godzilla Valentine's Day special? I'm sure some people will like it and others won't, but I mean, there's some good aspects to it for sure. And yeah, happy early Valentine's Day, I suppose. Cool. I don't know what the next Godzilla comic book is going to be. Maybe it might be the next issue of Justice League vs. Godzilla vs. Kong, unless IDW has some more Godzilla comic books like plans in the near future that I'll be sure to cover on the channel. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. So All right, well, that's all I have to say. Post your comments down below. Be sure to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to your channel for content, hit that bell for notifications, all the other fun stuff, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace out.